everyone, and welcome back to another video. Since I am in the thick of school, I am getting really close to graduating and I am currently working on my capstone project, I decided to take a break from filming heavier videos and instead chose to film a Q&A. If you follow me on Instagram, which you should, I'll let you know what my handle is right up there, then you would know that I posted a question sticker to my Insta stories asking you guys to ask me any question that you wanted and I would answer it, just because Q&As are really easy to film and edit and put together and put out there for you guys. And I also find them really fun and entertaining because I love learning more about people and I love sharing more about myself and answering questions because you guys always come up with great ones. And since I'm in the middle of my capstone, I don't have time to focus on putting together really deep videos on bigger topics. So this is where we're at now. I just want you to know that I do have several videos planned, including some videos on redeeming love, some of the new footage, reacting to some of the new things we've seen. So I am excited to film those because I think that'll be really fun to kind of keep filming those as the movie gets closer and closer to coming out, because I am a big fan of redeeming love and it's actually the subject of my capstone paper for my literary English studies program. All of the words are escaping me all of a sudden, so hopefully that's not an omen for the rest of this video. Without further ado, let's just jump right into the Q&A. I will read the questions here off of my socials and answer them for you here. So we're gonna start off with an easy one here, which is, what are 3 tips you have on writing a novel? I don't know. 3 tips. Okay, so I think the first tip that I would give personally, everybody's process is different, so you can take this with a grain of salt or take it or leave it or whatever you want. But personally, my biggest tip is outlining, and outlining as much as you can, because outlining has saved my life multiple times. So what I like to do when I am plotting a story is first write out just a summary. Some people consider this like a skeleton draft. It's not really a skeleton draft because it's not a full draft, but it's just when I get the idea, writing down as much as I can of the story as I possibly can think of. All the beats, the elements, whatever dialogue comes to mind. It's just like a massive free writing session. And usually what I end up with is my entire book in about 10 pages, which is a really weak story. And what I do once I have that summary is that I take that summary and I turn it into a point-by-point outline, and I kind of place those elements of the story that I just wrote in terms of where they would fall in the story. So I try to line up which ones, where's the rising action happening, where's the climax, where's the conclusion, and where do all these different beats fall in along the way. And then I will look at that outline and see, okay, so where are the holes? Where do I need more development? Where do I need to add certain scenes in order to make this a smooth progression and flesh it out more? So that turns into a more detailed outline. So I go from a synopsis to a more detailed point-by-point outline, and then I take that outline and then I use that as the basis for the scenes and chapters in my book. So a big thing for me is outlining, because it means that in the long run my stories will have more cohesiveness. That's not a word. I won't have to do as much editing for plot development because I will have already plotted everything out, and for the most part everything should be pretty solid from there. And I'll be able to infuse a lot more character arcs and subplots and major plots and overarching themes, because I'll be able to plan all of that out in advance and kind of create a battle plan or plan of attack for how I want to approach the drafting phase. So outlining is my #1 tip for writing a book. I know that some people aren't outliners, so you can just take that one or leave it, but personally, outlining is essential for me. The second writing tip that I have when it comes to writing a novel is to not put so much pressure on yourself, because good things take time. Some people have written amazing books in a month for NaNoWriMo, and some people take, you know, months to years to write a book. And I don't really think, just don't compare yourself is my biggest tip. And, you know, take the time that you need to take to create the story and find your own process. And my third tip for writing a book would be invest in it. And I don't just mean investing in cover designers or editors or that kind of thing. I mean investing in it yourself. You don't have to go to college or get a degree in writing just to write a book, but you can watch YouTube videos, you can look up tutorials, you can buy books on the craft of writing, and investing in yourself and trying to build that knowledge. You can even learn a lot of what you need to know to write a book from just reading a lot of books in your genre, because I have. And try to look at those from a more critical standpoint, not just as a reader of like, wow, this is a good book, but as a writer, what makes that book good? Investing in the craft of writing will help you grow as a writer and pick up on different things and learn tips and tricks for how to tell a story and make it compelling. Outline, take your time to find your process and invest in yourself however you can, whether that means writing, whether that means taking courses on writing or any of those kinds of things. So these next two questions both have to do with my dog. I have a toy Australian Shepherd and her name is Piper. And she's really, really cute and I love her to death. So the next question is, were you a dog person before Piper? The answer to that, I would say, is a yes, because I always wanted a dog as a kid. We had a dog, his name was Buddy. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about you. She's very self-centered and we love her for it. I had a dog, his name was Buddy. He was a Chihuahua. We got him in Arizona a long time ago and he lived until he was about 10 years old, and I liked having a dog, but I wouldn't say that I was particularly close with Buddy just because I was a kid. And then I knew that when we got married, I really wanted to get a dog. Brandon didn't. He didn't want a dog, but I was like, I really want a dog. And we lived near this pet store, so we were always walking past and seeing the new ones in the window. And I remember walking past at one point and just like was seeing this perfect little angel of a child in the window and being like, that's the one. We have to go and get her now. And then we did. So I always liked dogs. I don't think I was necessarily a big dog person. Like, dogs weren't my life, because let's face it, Piper is my life now. I did always like dogs, and I did really want a dog when we got married because dogs are so cute, and I wanted a small dog because I am a small dog person. And the second question that has to do with Piper is, where did you get the name Piper? And honestly, we went into the pet store and we asked if we could like hold her and play with her for a while and just see if we were a good fit as a family, because that's kind of how it worked or works. I don't know how other pet getting experiences work. And we were just sitting with her and she was so hyper, and I remember just being like, hyper Piper, hyper Piper. And then it was just like, that was her name. I don't even think like, we didn't even think about it. It was just like, Piper was her name from like the minute that it wasn't like they didn't name her Piper. We like picked the name Piper, but I remember we were both just looking at her. We were like, she is a Piper. Like, she is a hyper Piper, and it fits. And sometimes when she steals our socks, we call her Swiper Piper because she steals things frequently. So I really don't think I got it from anywhere in particular. I remember when we got engaged, I started dreaming up names for dogs. Piper, I don't think was on the list. It might have been, but I don't think it was. I really wanted to name a dog Oscar or Ruby or Starbucks. And I really tried. I was like, once we named her Piper, well, we couldn't take her home when we bought her because she was under 3 pounds at the time, and they weren't gonna let her go until she gained some weight and kind of, you know, gotten healthy. And I remember when we were waiting to get her, we had like about, I think, a month between the time we actually got her and then the time we got to take her home. So we had a lot of time to sit there and like prepare and think about what we wanted to name her, and, you know, get all the dog things like a dog bed and dog toys and dog bowls and all those kinds of things. It was really exciting. But I remember sitting there and I was like, do we have to call her Piper? Like, could we name her Starbucks? And Brandon said no. So we stuck with Piper. Okay, so this next question has to do with Shamira, who is the main character of my upcoming debut novel. I don't think I've done a title reveal yet, so we're just gonna call it, Shamira is the main character of my upcoming debut, because it's no longer my WIP, I'm drafting the sequel, but my upcoming debut novel. If Shamira lived in modern times, what do you think she would be doing? I've actually answered this question before in my Q&A with my critique partner video, which I will maybe link down below if I can remember to. I could definitely see her doing something as like a social worker. I think in that video I talked about how I could see Asa being a teacher. Asa is the main guy character. I could see Asa being a teacher in modern times and Shamira being a social worker, because I think those two kinds of careers might blend well together. Or if Asa was like a teacher, then Shamira could be a school counselor, because I think she really likes working with kids, but she also likes making sure that everyone has, you know, the resources they need. So I could see her doing that. Or maybe working, you know, with disability services in schools to make sure that kids that have learning disabilities or disabilities of any kind are getting all the resources they need. I could definitely see her doing that. I could also see her like just doing a lot of charity and ministry and outreach to maybe children in particular, because she does love kids. She's really great with kids. But that's kind of what I think she would be doing. But I could also see her being a lawyer, because she does tend to talk a lot. The next question is, how has a character of yours surprised you? A character of mine that has surprised me. Well, I don't know if any of them have surprised me because, like I said, I plot them out so much and I'm extremely meticulous in my outlining and planning stages for all the books and stories that I write. That's kind of my thing. So I don't know if anyone's really surprised me, but I will say that my main guy character, Asa, originally had less scenes in my original WIP. Originally, my entire WIP was primarily, my entire debut was primarily from Shamira's perspective. And I remember after I got through the first draft, I started to think, you know, there's a couple of things in this story that I think would be better developed if I told them from Asa's perspective. And I remember talking to some people who had read my book at the time, who had read that draft at the time, and, you know, saying like, I think I should add these scenes because it'll flesh out the story more. And a lot of people were like, no, I think it's complete on its own. I don't think you need those. I think that would maybe like slow it down. But then Asa demanded that his scenes be written into the story, and I'm very grateful because those have been a lot of people's favorite scenes in my beta group and in people who've read it since then. It's just been like, wow, this is what the story needed to kind of be completed. And I would say, yeah, the story was a full arc before then, but I think that adding in Asa's chapters and more of Asa's POV definitely deepened the story a little bit, if that's the right way to put it. So I am he did surprise me when he demanded that I write those scenes. The next question is, do you ever want to try writing in a genre other than biblical fiction? So biblical fiction is what I write. It's primarily what is behind me on these shelves. When it comes to writing, I do think about it a lot of like, if I could write in another genre other than biblical fiction, what would it be? Before I got into biblical fiction, I wrote a lot of historical stories, a lot of historical short stories and historical books that will never see the light of day. I don't necessarily think that I would write historical so much now that I've written biblical fiction, just because historical fiction is a lot of research and it's a lot of a different kind of research. So I wonder if I was gonna write in another genre, I would probably write in contemporary, and I actually have 3 contemporary novels outlined. I don't know if I will ever write them. I may never even touch them, but I do know that like every once in a while I'll get an idea and I'll plot it out and outline it like I do, and then I'll just kind of put it in a drawer just in case one day I ever decide to write something completely off the wall and different. It would probably be contemporary maybe, but I could also see myself writing historical, and when it comes to historical, I'm mostly thinking about the 18th and 19th century eras. 5 years from now, what would you like your life to be like? Life, writing, or any capacity. 5 years from now, it'll be 2025, so I would hope that by then I have at least 3 books published, but that seems like a lot. I don't know what my life is gonna be like post-school. I've been doing school for so long that like the idea or the very concept of like, what will I do when I don't have to get up every morning and work on school is like such a foreign concept to me. Am I gonna have time to write all the books I want to? Like, how will that affect my writing life? You know, that's something I think about a lot, because like, will I be able to write more, or will I write the same because maybe that's just my process is writing at a slower pace? I don't know. The next question is, have you already planned all of the books in your series? And the answer to that is yes. Some of my outlines are more detailed than others. I think the outline for my current WIP is obviously extremely detailed because I'm currently working on it. And then I actually have them outlined kind of out of order right now, so I'm gonna have to fix that. But I've already written book 1. I'm in the process of writing book 2. I have my outline for book 4, and book 3 is just kind of a concept at this point. So I'm still trying to figure out how to connect the dots. I have an arc in mind and I know which characters I want to pursue, but it's just a matter of narrowing down the setting and the overall plot, because right now it's just a bunch of disconnected ideas. So that's going to be a process. And then I have some novellas potentially also with very small outlines, not really fully developed yet, but I do have all the books in the series planned. Currently, I am open to adding more books to that series, maybe down the line if there are other characters that demand that I write their books as well. But currently it is a 4-book series with 2 novellas attached. So that's exciting. So I'll probably yeah, and I do have all of those planned, and I know what they're all going to be about. Like I said, some are more detailed outlines than others right now. Some are just sort of concepts or short summaries, short synopses, but I do have them all planned, so that's exciting. The next question is, what upcoming releases are you most looking forward to? And I feel like a terrible reader right now because I am so out of the loop from just being in college and everything to do with that I don't really know what books are coming out right now. Like what is even on the market? What's gonna be on the market? I know that I think Misu Andrews is currently drafting a book about Rachel and Leah, but I don't think that even has a title yet. It's just kind of being drafted. Oh, Jill Eileen Smith has a book coming out on Miriam, and I'm excited to read that one because I love Exodus retellings. Exodus retellings are life. And Connie Lynn Cassette has a book coming out this year that is To Dwell Among Cedars, and obviously I'm excited for that one because it's Connie Lynn Cassette. So those are my main ones that are coming to my mind right now. I can't think of any others, but that is just me. I don't know if Tessa Afshar is working on one right now. I know that she's doing like or she did, it might have just come out. I'm so out of the loop because of school, guys. A Bible study nonfiction thing, which I need to get. But I don't know if she's working on any fiction stories or if she's announced any yet, which if there is one, that's on my list. And I'm also really enjoying, you can't see it, hold on. I'm also really enjoying the Guideposts Biblical Fiction Ordinary Women of the Bible subscription series. If you subscribe to this series, you get a new book emailed. You get a new book mailed to you every month, and they're really exciting and fun. And I haven't read them yet because of school, but I am enjoying getting them in the mail, and some of them are really great, and they're all by different authors, and I am ashamed to admit that one of them is by Connie Lynn Cassette, and I haven't read that one yet, but those are definitely on my list of upcoming releases, if that counts, because it's a subscription series and I am subscribed because of my amazing husband who subscribed for me. But yeah, that is all I can think of right now. I'm probably a really bad reader. Summarize your book in one sentence. Every author hates this question, or at least I do. My book is a biblical fiction novel set during the time of Christ about one girl who has grown up hearing the story of the coming Messiah, and due to her life circumstances embarks on a quest to meet him and encounter the Messiah, and it's about her whole family's experience during Christ's ministry, and it specifically takes place during the last week of Jesus' life on earth before the crucifixion, so the Passion Week, and that's when the whole book takes place. So yeah, that was that. That was a very poorly constructed sentence, and I'm sorry. The next question is there a Bible verse section is there a Bible verse / section that correlates well with the message of your book? I definitely want to say, I would definitely say that James 3 applies to my book, which is the passage about taming the tongue, because that is an important theme that my main character learns and also experiences. Another like major passage, obviously, that I think correlates to my book is the triumphant entry when Jesus enters Jerusalem on a donkey and everyone's kind of sitting there throwing palm branches on the road and singing Hosanna. That was kind of the motif that gave me the whole idea for the story. That was the passage that made me like think of this character and this family and this experience. So that passage definitely just set off and set the entire novel into motion. So that's another one. The Gospels, obviously, because it's a gospel message. It's a gospel-centric story plotline. But I would definitely say the entirety of the Gospels, and then James 3 about the taming of the tongue, are two that I think are very important. I know that a lot of other people have told me that they think the main themes are relevant to hope and faith. So passages that relate to that would probably also correlate, but for me personally, it is about words and the power of words, and then the gospel and the power of the gospel message. So those are my two big things. Okay, the next question is, do you prefer outlining, drafting, or editing? It depends on what stage I'm in, because right now I'm in the drafting stage and I don't like it. When I'm in the outlining stage, I don't really like it. And when I'm in the editing stage, I don't really like it. It's always looking forward to the next part of the process for me, that like whatever's ahead or behind me, I like that the most. So since I'm drafting right now, I really miss editing, because when I'm editing, it's all there and I can just fix it and it's done. I don't have to worry about getting the words onto the page as much as I have to worry about making sure that everything's cohesive and it makes sense and it's well developed, and you know, making it shine and making it better. But you know, when I'm outlining, I miss drafting, because outlining is time consuming and it's hard, especially when there's like plot holes and you're trying to figure everything out, and sometimes you get inspiration for things and you're like, I want to go write this down, but you're still in the outlining phase, so you don't really have the setup and it might not make sense, and you can still write it down and save it for later, but it's just not the same. So when I'm outlining, I miss drafting. When I'm drafting, I miss editing. And when I'm editing, I miss drafting and outlining a lot. So I really like all of them, but currently, since I'm drafting, I would have to say I really miss editing. If you could only eat one of these in your life, which would it be? Pasta or barbecue chips? Audrey, you don't like me because you just gave me the worst question of my life. Pasta and barbecue chips are my two favorite foods. Pasta in any variety, and barbecue chips just like as a sustenance for life. I want to say pasta because you can like make pasta in many different varieties, and barbecue chips are just always gonna be barbecue chips, but at the same time, there is nothing like, okay, also for my first WIP, barbecue chips were my writing snack. So now when I eat barbecue chips, I associate them with writing. So I don't know, could I write without barbecue chips? Could I still be an author without barbecue chips? This is a legitimate question. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to cut pasta out because pasta is life. So I'm gonna say, roughly how many times have you watched the Pirates of the Caribbean movies? How many times has the sun risen in the east and set in the west? As a kid, I was definitely a kid who, when I liked a movie, I would watch it over and over again. Like when I had VHS tapes, I would put in a movie like on weekends because school, but on Saturdays I would get up and I'd put a movie in, and then I'd watch it, and then I would rewind it and then watch it and then rewind it and watch it, and I could watch the same movie like 3 or 4 times in a day and not get tired of it. And I love reruns to this day. I will just binge watch shows over and over and over again. I'm watching a TV show right now, and I think I'm in my 5th rewatch where I just like start it and then I finish and I start it again and I finish it again and I start it again and I finish it again. I really like watching things over and over and over again. Sometimes watching TV for me turns into more just like background noise that I can have on when I'm like not doing anything. But in terms of Pirates of the Caribbean, that was definitely one that I watched multiple times a day as a kid, and probably at least once a week for a while, and then, you know, like once a month. And then I just finished actually marathoning the entire series a couple of weeks ago because I'm obsessed with, I love Pirates movies. I love the Pirates of the Caribbean series. I love a lot of like 2000s Disney action movies that maybe aren't critically amazing, but like they're just fun, or they're hilarious, or they're enjoyable in some way. So I just really like that. I like a lot of movies. I used to be a film student, so I have like really eclectic, diverse tastes in movies. But in terms of Pirates was my life as a child. That was my childhood obsession. I wanted to be a pirate when I grew up. Maybe I can still accomplish that somehow, but like vicariously through writing, because piracy is a crime. So I really don't even think I could possibly count that, because I as a kid would just watch and rewind and watch and rewind and watch and rewind, and like I know that for a fact. And then as a teen, I watched them frequently. I remember like I owned the DVD copies, but then when I was like 13, I bought the Blu-ray copies as well. And then when I was like 15, I think I bought like a special boxed set that came with like hours and hours of bonus footage and commentaries. And I also would watch the commentaries. Like I would watch the movie and then I would go back to the beginning and I would watch it with the audio commentary on. So I really don't even think that that's a countable thing. It's not. I'm sorry. Just know that like as many times as a person can humanly watch a movie, that is how many times I have watched the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And I have absolutely no shame. Asa or Gilbert? And in this question, Audrey is kindly referring to Asa, the main guy in my WIP. And in this question, Audrey is referring to Asa, the main guy in my WIP, and Gilbert Blythe, as in Anne of Green Gables, and Gilbert Blythe, and all of that Avonlea stuff. And this is such a hard question. I have to choose. Okay, I can do this. I just have to like logically think about it for a minute. Logically, who would I choose? The man that I made and created and molded in my image of a perfect man, or Gilbert Blythe, who set the standard for my image of a perfect man? No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I have to, because it's a Q&A. Okay, Gilbert or Asa? Asa or Gilbert? I think when it comes down to it, I would probably choose, next question, favorite dessert. I don't actually like dessert. I'm not a big dessert person. I like candy, but only like chewy candy and typically fruit flavored candy. I like cherry slices and orange slices and Mike and Ike's and like gummy bears and that kind of thing. Like I like chewable candy, but I'm really not into dessert. I don't really like cake. I don't really like ice cream that much. I'll eat it on occasion, but I'm not like an ice cream person. Probably I do like cheesecake, but only like caramel cheesecake. So I'm gonna go with like chewable fruit flavored candy or salted caramel cheesecake, which is what I had at my wedding. Where would you visit first, Green Gables or Odyssey? And in this question, she is referring to Adventures in Odyssey. Fun fact, I actually have visited Odyssey. It is a place that you can go to. Not really, but I know that at Focus on the Family, if you go there, you can go to Odyssey, and it's like in their basement. They have like a whole setup, and I have been there, and it was so exciting. It was the highlight of my childhood. I went to Wits End. I went to all the Odyssey hangouts. So I have already been to Odyssey. So I guess I would go to Green Gables next. Which Mary Tyler Moore Show character are you most like? Mary. I don't know, is that narcissistic? But there is a BuzzFeed quiz I can take for this. So let's just take that. BuzzFeed, Mary Tyler Moore. Which Mary Tyler Moore character are you? Here we go. Choose an item of furniture. Now, I'm tempted to pick the kitchen island because that's really cute, but I feel like it's more on brand for me to pick a desk. So we're going with that. Your boss is in a bad mood. How do you respond? In my head, I would make a sarcastic comment, but I think in reality, I would probably offer them a compliment and try to appease the situation because that is my customer service style. How is your love life? I found my soulmate because I'm married. Your friend is wearing an ugly outfit. Honestly, I probably like it because I have eclectic taste in everything. What's your ideal weekend evening? A night in with friends. No, wait, I want to change that. A night in with my significant other. Or maybe at a party. Wait. That's fine. Pick a city. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. As a Californian, I'm torn between Los Angeles and San Francisco. But like in terms of like beautiful cities, I would love to live in New York if I was a millionaire. But I'm gonna say, I wanna say New York because I love the vibe and the atmosphere of New York and just like all the things, and like Broadway is in New York. But like San Francisco is my homeland, so I have to pick that. On a scale of 1 to 4, 1 being the least, how outgoing are you? I would say I'm pretty outgoing if the situation like calls for it. And I'm very extroverted and like a people person with people I know. But I'm kind of shy, so I'm gonna go with 3. WJM just fired you. What's your new career path? Something creative. I got Georgette Franklin. I mean, okay, that's not Mary, but fine. Approximately how many parties have you planned? So this question is in reference to the fact that I make parties out of virtually any small occasion. I use it as an excuse to throw a party. I started planning my own birthday parties, I think when I was 9 or 8 maybe. Maybe even, no, when I was 8, I started planning my own birthday parties and like putting input and coming up with like game ideas and stuff to do. And then when I was like 10 or 11, I think I just took over and I planned my own birthday parties. And then I started planning birthday parties for our dog. And then I started planning like parties for, like I would write plays and then I would plan premiere parties for them. And then like, oh, I don't even know how many parties I've planned. Recently, I threw a Hamilton watch party. I threw a birthday party for my dog. I've done like Father's Day parties, 4th of July parties. So I would just say a lot, because I love hosting parties and decorating and like coming up with cute little details. Pinterest, guys, Pinterest. If you could travel in the imagination station, when and where would you go? I want to say the Exodus, but I feel like I say that for like every Q&A when someone asks me like, what time period would you love to visit? Or who would you like to meet? Moses. Like, but I mean, Exodus is a fair answer, but I think I would also really like to travel to the time of Christ, or the early church would be really fun to explore and visit. My favorite imagination station episode in Odyssey is also the birth of Jesus. I love those episodes, so I might also go there. But I do also like the idea of maybe going somewhere in more recent history, like pirates. So that is also an option. When is your birthday, and when will you share more about your book? My birthday's in October, and I will share more about my book probably in October, actually, because I've got some exciting announcements planned for October. But the reason that I haven't been sharing about my book as much outside of like this Q&A video is because of the fact that at the beginning of this year, I realized that I was getting serious about publishing it, and I kind of wanted to scale back how much I posted about it so that I could, you know, build more anticipation for when I publish it. So that was kind of my thought process, because in the past like 2.5, 3 years that I've been writing it and posting about it on social media, I posted a lot about it, like character aesthetics and different like fun facts and tips, and not tips, plot lines, quotes, different things. I posted a lot as I was writing it, and that's, you know, great because it means a lot of people got excited about it. But for right now, I am scaling it back just so that I can build more anticipation and that and stuff like that for when it's actually releasing. Which brings me to the next question, which is, when do you think your first book will be released? I need to read it ASAP. I will be releasing my first book in spring of 2021. So there. That is my definitive answer. Assuming that all goes according to plan and that like that's God's will and something major doesn't happen, because it's 2020 and the jury's still out on that. Would you rather be the cover model or have a character based on you, not your WIP? That makes sense. I like the idea of being a cover model because I do love fashion and photography and hairstyling and getting all that kind of stuff done. So I would love to be a cover model, but I think in reality, I would just love to have a character based on me, because I really only feel like I could be the cover model if the character and I shared some qualities in some way, because I just don't really think I'd care if I was the cover model of a character or a book that I didn't really care about, if that makes sense. But I would love to have a character based on me, because that would be really fun. It would also be hard for whoever was writing that book. It would be very hard for them, which would also be fun to watch. And then the final question that I am going to answer is, how long do you spend writing each week/day, and how do you prioritize it when you have many other priorities going on? Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I don't really prioritize my writing, especially right now, because I am working on my capstone and my priority is writing my capstone. But in the past, I have been more goal-oriented, and I do consider myself a very like goal-oriented, task-focused person, to where I just have days where I designate, like today I am doing school, today I'm filming a YouTube video, today I am working on creating content for social media, today I'm writing, and I try to just block my days, and I do a lot of time blocking to help me block out my schedule. And I just have days where all I do is focus on one task. So like maybe there's a cleaning day, or maybe there's a school day where I just try to knock out all my schoolwork for the entire week in one day. Or maybe there's a writing day where I just go at it like crazy and write and write and write. I don't necessarily think it's important to write every single day as a writer. I think it's important to write when the inspiration strikes you. That being said, I have done NaNoWriMo in the past, and I have like set more particular goals where it's like I'm just sitting down to write today. And I have in the past done sort of what I call like soft nano, where it's not a matter of hitting a word count every day. It's a matter of, I am going to write today. I'm going to write something, but I don't know what, I don't know how much, but the point is that today I am going to write something. So I don't necessarily have like a word count or a time that I go for, but I do think it's important to write at your own pace, because if it's strained, for me personally, if it's strained, it will just come out really choppy and it'll be so hard to edit. And it's easier to write when I am in a clear headspace and a clear mindset and I can devote myself to writing. So right now, because I'm in school, I don't do a lot of prioritizing for my writing, just because of my capstone project and how much time that's taken up. But when I am not in school, or when I'm in a lighter season or lighter course load, I do just try to make sure that I have some time blocked off each week just to write something. And I don't necessarily pressure myself with a word count goal, but I just like to let my mind kind of freely flow and make sure that I have time set aside for that, to write something, whether or not I write a large amount or a large quantity. Hopefully post school I'll be able to have a stronger regimen, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Thank you guys so much for watching this very long-winded Q&A. Once again, my name is Jenna Van Mourik. I'm an inspired writer and an inspirational fiction reader who reads, writes, and lives for Jesus. You can find me on social media at all of these links over here, and there's also more information that you can learn about me in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and like this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. I will see you guys all in my next video. Let me know in the comments if you have any video ideas, by the way, because I am open to options right now. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!